colony ship drifted quietly through the black ocean of space, its metal skin glowing faintly under the distant stars. Humanity had traveled far from Earth, building small homes among the stars, planting new colonies, dreaming of peace. For years, everything seemed safe. Nothing had threatened them. They believed they were alone, or at least that no one out there cared about their existence. But then one day, silence came. A colony that had been alive with voices, families, and children simply stopped answering. No signals, no messages, no ships leaving or arriving. At first, people thought it was a broken transmitter, a technical error. But soon, patrol ships that went to check also vanished. No one came back, and no message was received. Fear began to spread across the other colonies. On a small vessel, a group of explorers and traders were moving through the outer systems when they received something strange, a faint signal, weak, almost lost in static. It was an old emergency code, one that humans used only when there was no other hope. The captain played it again and again. It was simple, chilling. Help us. The crew sat in silence. No one spoke for a moment. They knew what had happened to the last patrol that tried to check. Everyone who had gone there had disappeared. The captain asked, "Do we risk it, or do we turn away?" One of the younger crew members whispered, "If we don't go, then who will?" Another muttered, "Maybe this is why the others vanished. Maybe it's a trap." Suspense filled the room. A decision had to be made. They could escape, save themselves, or they could try to find the truth behind the silence. Finally, the captain stood. His voice was firm. "We are going." His words ended the debate. The ship turned toward the lost colony. Every second felt heavy. Every heartbeat echoed with fear. The stars outside the window seemed darker, almost watching. As they approached the colony's planet, their sensors showed strange results. The surface still looked alive. Lights flickered in some buildings. Power was still running, yet no voices, no movement, no signals. The colony was breathing, but empty. When they landed, the silence was worse than the vacuum of space. The streets were still, dust floating in the air, food on tables half-eaten, chairs fallen over as if people had left in the middle of their meals. It was as if life had been ripped away in an instant. The crew walked slowly, weapons ready, listening to every echo of their footsteps. The deeper they moved into the colony, the more unnatural it felt. They reached the central square, where the distress beacon had been sent. The device still blinked, repeating its desperate call. But no one was there. Then, suddenly, a sound, a small cry, weak and broken. They rushed toward it. In one corner of a ruined home, they found a child, shaking, eyes wide with fear. The child looked at them as if seeing ghosts. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, the captain knelt and asked softly, "What happened here?" The child's lips trembled. His voice was barely a whisper. "They are coming." The crew froze. Their hearts raced. Who were they? What had taken the colony? The answer would come soon, but already, deep in their souls, they knew this was not the silence of accident. This was the silence of a warning, and by coming here, they had already stepped into the shadow of something far greater than they could imagine. The night on the colony felt colder than space itself. The crew stayed close together, their flashlights cutting through the empty streets. Each building they passed told the same story. Life interrupted, lives erased. The silence was not natural. It was heavy, pressing against their minds, making every sound echo louder than it should. The child they had found clung to the captain's arm. His eyes darted in every direction, as if expecting shadows to leap from the corners. His lips kept moving, whispering words that the crew could not understand. Finally, he repeated the warning, clearer this time. "They are coming." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Who were they? Why had no one survived except this boy? The captain tried to calm him, speaking softly. "You are safe now. We will protect you." But the boy shook his head violently. His fear was not about the past. It was about the future. They searched more homes, hoping to find other survivors. But the results were always the same. Empty rooms, meals unfinished, clothes left behind. It looked as if thousands of people had vanished in a single moment. No signs of struggle, no bodies, only absence. The younger crew members began to whisper among themselves. Some thought the people had been taken. Others believed they had simply run. But run where? The colony was isolated. No ships were missing. Back at the ship, the crew debated their next step. One argued, "We should leave. We found a survivor. That's enough. If we stay, we'll end up like the rest of them." Another said, "If we leave without answers, this will happen again. Maybe to us." The tension grew thicker. Suddenly the child screamed. His finger pointed toward the sky. The crew rushed outside. Above the colony, faint shapes moved between the stars. At first they looked like shadows, drifting silently. But as they drew closer, the outlines sharpened. They were ships, alien ships, like nothing humanity had ever seen. Their forms were twisted, sharp, alive in a way metal should never be. The crew hurried back inside, shutting down every light. Every sound seemed dangerous. The captain whispered, "Stay quiet. Stay hidden." The alien ships descended slowly, scanning the colony with beams of cold blue light. The crew held their breath as the lights swept past their hiding place. The child buried his face into the captain's coat, trembling violently. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the ships landed at the far end of the colony. Strange figures emerged, tall and thin, their movements unnatural. They walked like shadows given form. Their bodies shimmered as if half hidden between dimensions. The crew watched from a distance, hearts pounding. One of the figures bent down, touching the ground. The earth seemed to ripple under its hand. Another raised a device, scanning the empty homes. They were searching, but for what? Survivors? Technology? Or something worse? The boy whispered again, almost crying. "They will not stop. They take everything." The crew finally understood. This was not an accident. This was not a natural disaster. This was a purge, deliberate and merciless. The aliens moved like hunters, silent and precise. They checked the distress beacon, but left it untouched, almost as if they wanted someone to come. The realization struck the crew hard. The signal had not survived by chance. It was bait. The captain clenched his fists. His mind raced. Were they already caught in the trap? He knew one thing for certain. They could not remain here much longer, yet leaving now could expose them to the ships above. As the crew argued in whispers, a terrible thought crossed their minds. What if humanity's first true contact with intelligent life in the stars was not a meeting of peace, but a test of survival? What if their very existence was seen as a crime? The child looked up at them, his voice steady for the first time. "They came for us because we were human, and they will come for you too." The crew realized then that their journey into this dead colony had only just begun. The mystery was unfolding into something far darker. Humanity had awakened something in the stars, and the price for their innocence was already being written in fear. The night felt endless as the alien ships remained above the colony. Their strange lights swept across the ruins like the gaze of hunters searching for prey. The crew hid in silence, every second stretching longer than the last. The child pressed close to the captain, his small hands shaking. His words echoed in their minds. "They are coming." One of the crew members whispered, "We can't stay here. They will find us." Another hissed back, "If we leave now, they will see our ship. They'll follow us across the stars." The argument stopped when a low hum filled the air. The alien vessels above changed shape, their outlines bending unnaturally as if the metal itself was alive. Suddenly, beams of blue light shot down, striking the empty houses. The walls melted, collapsing into dust. The crew watched in horror as entire streets dissolved silently. These beings were not searching for life. They were erasing it piece by piece. Every trace of human existence was being removed. The captain clenched his jaw. His eyes stayed locked on the ships. He whispered, "They want more than destruction. They want memory itself gone." Then, without warning, the ground shook. A figure appeared at the far edge of the square, tall, thin, and shimmering, like a shadow pulled from another world. Its body glowed faintly, twisting as though it was not fully solid. It turned its head toward the crew's direction, and though it made no sound, every member felt it, like a voice inside their skulls. The boy cried out, covering his ears. "Don't look at them. Don't listen." His warning came too late. One of the younger crew stumbled backward, gasping for breath. His eyes turned pale. He began whispering words no one understood, words that were not human. The alien shadow tilted its head, almost pleased. The captain grabbed the young man and shook him. "Stay with us. Fight it." But the whispering continued. The alien's presence pressed harder, a silent invasion of the mind. Finally, the captain shouted, "Block it out. Think of Earth. Think of home." Together, the crew pulled the man back, and slowly, painfully, the whispering stopped. The alien shadow faded into mist and dissolved. The crew gasped in relief, but they knew now what they faced. These creatures were not just killers. They were invaders of thought, destroyers of will. The boy's voice was small but certain. "They take everything, body and soul. That is why I hid. That is why I survived." His words were heavy, filled with the kind of fear only someone who had seen the impossible could carry. The captain made a decision. "We can't stay hidden forever. If they find our ship, humanity will never know what happened here. We must escape and carry this warning home." But leaving would not be simple. The alien vessels circled above like wolves. waiting for movement. Every exit seemed closed, every shadow a trap. The crew began to prepare, shutting down non-essential systems, masking their heat, praying that their ship could slip away unseen. As they worked, one of the crew noticed something strange. The aliens ignored the child completely. Even when their lights passed near him, they did not react. It was as if they could not see him, or worse, as if they had allowed him to live. Deliberately, the thought sent chills through them all. Was the boy truly a survivor? Or was he part of their design, left behind as bait, as a message? No one spoke it aloud, but the question hung heavy in their minds. Outside, the alien ships shifted again, their lights growing brighter. The colony trembled as the ground itself began to crack. The captain looked at his crew, then at the terrified boy. He knew the next few hours would decide not just their fate, but the fate of every human who dared to reach for the stars. And in that silence, before the storm, one truth became clear. Humanity's innocence had ended, and their reckoning had just begun. The crew managed to slip away from the ruined colony under the cover of darkness. Their ship rose slowly into the sky, engines humming as quietly as possible. Every eye stayed fixed on the alien vessels above. The crew feared that one spark, one sound, one wrong movement would expose them. For a long moment, it seemed they would make it, but then the stars shifted. The alien ships began to turn. Their strange hulls twisted unnaturally, bending like liquid metal. They had noticed something. A siren-like vibration filled the air, not sound but pressure, a signal that rattled inside bones. The captain ordered, "Full power now!" The ship surged forward, breaking free of the atmosphere. Behind them, the alien hunters gave chase. Their beams of light tore across the void, missing by seconds. The crew held their breath as the ship dodged and weaved. Finally, after a desperate sprint, they leapt into faster-than-light travel. The stars stretched into streaks, and the alien ships fell away. Inside the cabin, silence returned. The crew collapsed into their seats, sweat dripping, hearts racing. The captain looked at each face. "We survived, but this is only the beginning." His voice was grim. He knew what awaited them. Humanity must be told. Back on the central human colonies, leaders gathered in urgent councils. When the crew reported what they had seen, the words spread like fire. "Not alone. They are coming. The colony is gone." Some leaders argued it was a misunderstanding. Others shouted that it was war. Fear turned into anger, and anger into division. One senator stood up, her voice sharp. "If these creatures see us as prey, then we must strike first." Another shouted back, "If we fight, we invite extinction. We must hide, abandon the outer colonies." Voices rose higher, louder, breaking into chaos. Humanity had never been united, and now, faced with a threat greater than anything in history, they broke into pieces. Meanwhile, the crew remained silent in the council chamber. They knew the truth was worse than any speech. These aliens were not simply warriors. They erased worlds. They invaded minds. They turned innocence into weakness. The child sat beside the captain, eyes wide as the leaders argued. Finally, he whispered words that silenced the entire hall. "They will not stop. They will come for all of you." The weight of his voice chilled the room. For the first time, many realized this was not about one colony. This was about the survival of the entire species. Days turned into weeks. Human fleets scrambled to prepare. New ships were built, weapons upgraded. Colonists dug shelters beneath their cities. Yet deep inside, everyone knew they were not ready. Humanity had dreamed of peace among the stars, but the universe had answered with fire. The aliens sent no message, no demands, no negotiation, but strange signals began to appear on scanners across human space. Coded transmissions filled with static and whispers. Some believed it was alien language, others thought it was a warning. The crew knew better. It was the same sound they had heard on the colony, a sound that could break minds. The captain stood before the fleet commanders, his voice steady. "You don't understand. They are not afraid of our weapons. They fear what we could become. That is why they strike now. They mean to end us before we learn our true strength." His words unsettled many, but they also lit a spark. For the first time, humans across different colonies began to see the truth. This was not a battle for one world. This was a reckoning for all of humanity. The fleet gathered, massive but untested, stretching across the stars. Every pilot, every soldier, every family knew the risk. The cost would be blood. The price for innocence had already been paid. Now came the fight for survival. As the child stood on the bridge of the cruise ship, he whispered again, "They will come soon." His small voice carried more weight than 1,000 speeches. The crew looked to the stars, hearts heavy but unbroken. Humanity's reckoning had begun, and this time, they would not run. The first clash came without warning. The human fleet stationed near the outer colonies picked up distortions in space. At first, they thought it was a sensor error, a ripple caused by gravity storms. But then, the darkness split open. Alien ships emerged like predators rising from the deep ocean. Their twisted hulls reflected no light. Their movements were wrong, too smooth, too silent. The fleet commander shouted orders. Ships turned to face the threat. Cannons charged, missiles armed. For a heartbeat there was hope. Humanity was ready this time, but the aliens struck with speed no human could match. Blue beams sliced through the void. Whole ships cracked apart in seconds. Explosions blooming like dying stars. On the cruise vessel, alarms screamed. The captain gripped the controls, dodging debris from destroyed allies. The child stood frozen at the viewport, his voice quiet. They erase us, one by one. The crew fired back, missiles streaking into the dark. A few alien vessels shuddered under impact, but most glided unharmed. The battle raged. Human voices filled the comms, some shouting courage, others crying in terror. We are losing shields. They are inside our formation. Hold the line. But the line was already breaking. Ships that had taken years to build were torn apart in minutes. Colonies watching from afar could only listen as screams echoed across open channels before being silenced forever. The price of innocence was being carved into history. Humanity had entered the stars without understanding the dangers, and now they paid in blood. Till, not all was lost. A group of destroyers managed to corner one alien ship. Their combined fire finally cracked its shimmering hull. The creature within screamed through the vacuum, a sound that reached minds rather than ears. The crew felt it, like claws scraping across their thoughts. One of their engineers collapsed, whispering nonsense, blood running from his nose. The others pulled him back, desperate to shield him from the psychic attack. The alien ship burned, breaking into fragments that drifted like ash. For the first time, humans had struck down a predator. The fleet cheered, though the sound was hollow. For every enemy destroyed, 10 human ships were lost. Hours later, the surviving vessels limped away. Fire still raged on their hulls. Many did not return. Names of the fallen spread across colonies. Families wept. Leaders who had argued for peace fell into silence. Now they understood. There would be no peace. The aliens demanded submission or extinction. The child, now carried as a symbol, became the voice of the survivors. He stood before crowds and whispered the truth. They will not stop. They will come again. His small frame, his haunted eyes, became a reminder of what humanity fought for. The captain of the cruise vessel stood before the council once more. His words were sharp. We cannot run. Every colony will fall if we do nothing. We must change. We must fight with everything we have. If we fail, there will be no second chance. His voice carried, and this time, people listened. Factories across human space roared to life. New weapons were designed, stronger shields, faster drives. Colonies that had once argued began to unite. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood not as many nations, but as one species. But unity came at a cost. Millions were dead, families broken, worlds scarred. The first battle had shown the truth. Humanity was not ready. Yet they had survived, bruised but alive, and survival itself was a victory. As the crew sat in silence aboard their ship, stars drifting past, the child spoke softly. They are afraid of you. The words surprised them, the boy explained. They fear what you could become. They fear the fire in your hearts. The captain looked out at the endless sky, his voice low but steady. Then we will give them a reason to fear. And so humanity prepared, knowing the next battle would be worse. The blood already spilled was only the beginning. The price of innocence was not yet fully paid. The war had scarred humanity. Colonies burned, fleets shattered, yet still the people endured. Out of the ashes, a plan was born. The council decided that survival alone was not enough. They needed answers. They needed to know why the aliens had chosen humanity for destruction, and whether there was a way to strike back. The captain and his crew were chosen, not because they were the strongest, but because they had seen the truth first. They had looked into the shadows and lived. Now they carried a mission few would survive. Travel into the void, into the territory of the enemy, to learn their secrets and bring hope to their people. Their ship was refitted for stealth, its engines coated with new alloys to mask its heat, its weapons stripped down to reduce its profile. Every piece of technology screamed of desperation, for this was not a mission to conquer, but a mission to survive unseen. The journey was silent. Long stretches of darkness filled the crew with unease. The stars themselves seemed to watch. Every sound in the ship felt too loud. Every flicker of the lights felt dangerous. The child, now older in spirit if not in years, sat quietly, his eyes fixed on the stars. He whispered once, "They will know we are coming. They always know." Days later, the ship entered alien space. What they saw defied imagination. Worlds broken into fragments drifted silently, stripped of life. Orbiting these ruins were massive structures, pulsing with unnatural energy. Kid, it was not conquest. It was consumption. The aliens did not simply destroy, they fed. They drained planets of everything until only dead stone remained. The crew moved cautiously, hiding among asteroids. Their scanners recorded everything. The images of dying worlds would shake humanity to its core. But then they discovered something more. In the heart of alien space, a massive construct floated, larger than any human colony, a fortress that looked alive. Its surface shifted and pulsed like flesh covered in metal. The captain whispered, "This is where it begins. This is where it ends." As they drifted closer, they intercepted strange transmissions, voices that spoke in broken echoes, not words but thoughts. The crew felt them pressing against their minds, testing their strength. One member collapsed under the weight, trembling, blood running from his ears. The others dragged him away, shielding him with everything they had. The child stood, his small voice cutting through the chaos. "They fear you. They fear what you could become. That is why they destroy. They do not want rivals. They do not want equals." His words were heavy, carrying the truth they had all suspected. Humanity was not being punished for what it had done, but for what it might one day do. The crew recorded the transmissions, knowing this evidence would change everything. But just as hope sparked, alarm screamed. The alien fortress had noticed them. Beams of blue light swept the void, searching. The captain shouted, "Engines to full power, evasive maneuvers." The ship darted through the field of ruins, hiding in the shadows of broken worlds. Alien vessels launched from the fortress, sleek predators closing in fast. The void lit with fire as human weapons fired in desperation. Explosions tearing through the silence. Every second felt like a lifetime. The crew fought not to win, but to escape. Their ship shuddered as energy blasts grazed the hull. Metal screamed, systems flickered. One wrong move and they would vanish like the colonies before them. Finally, the return from alien space was not a victory, it was survival. The crew brought back recordings, proof of what they had seen. Broken worlds, alien fortresses, and voices that attacked the mind. Humanity could no longer pretend this was a distant threat. The council listened in silence as the child's voice carried the truth. They will never stop. They fear us, and they will not rest until we are gone. For the first time, humanity stood together. Colonies that had once argued now shared resources. Engineers worked day and night to build faster ships, stronger shields, and weapons that could pierce alien armor. Families sent their sons and daughters to join the defense fleets. The cost had already been great, millions lost, but the fire of survival burned brighter than fear. The aliens did not wait long. The sky itself seemed to tear apart as their fleets entered human space. Dark shadows stretching across the stars. The final battle had come. Humanity gathered everything they had. Fleets spread across the void, soldiers ready, leaders silent. The captain and his crew stood at the bridge of their ship, the child beside them. The moment they had feared and prepared for was here. The first clash shook the heavens. Alien beams tore through the dark. Human ships exploded like falling suns. But this time, humanity did not break. They held their line, their new weapons answering with fury. Missiles screamed, cannons roared. Entire squadrons of alien ships fell under the storm. For every loss, humans fought harder, united in purpose. The crew's vessel pushed forward into the heart of the battle, weaving through wreckage and fire. Their target was not the enemy fleet, but the alien command vessel. The living fortress that had haunted their memories. The captain shouted, "This is where it ends." The ship dived, alien fighters swarming in pursuit. Lasers streaked past, hull shaking. But they pressed on. As they neared the fortress, a wave of psychic energy hit them. Voices filled their minds, dark and heavy. "You are children. You are fragile. You are nothing," one crew member screamed, clutching his head. The others shouted back against the whispers, refusing to break. The child stood tall, his voice cutting through the storm. "We are not nothing. We are human." Something changed in that moment. The fortress trembled, as if shaken by the defiance of a single small voice. The crew fired their final weapon, a massive warhead designed to pierce the shifting hull. It struck deep, the explosion blazing brighter than a star. The alien fortress cracked, light bursting from within. Shadows screamed as they dissolved into nothing. Across the battlefield, alien ships faltered. Their attacks slowed. Their formations broke. Humanity surged forward, striking harder. Ships that should have fallen pressed on. Soldiers who should have surrendered fought with fire in their hearts. The aliens retreated, their perfect silence shattered by the roar of human survival. When the battle ended, space was filled with wreckage, human and alien alike. The price was beyond measure. Worlds had bled, families had been broken, innocence was gone, but something greater had risen in its place. Humanity had faced its reckoning and survived. The child looked out at the stars, his voice soft but strong. They will come again, but now they know, humans will not bow, humans will not vanish. The captain placed a hand on his shoulder, his eyes fierce. Let them come, we will be ready. The stars stretched endless and cold, but for the first time, humanity did not look at them with fear. They looked with fire. They had paid the price of innocence, and from it, they had forged their destiny. This was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of humanity's true place among the stars.